Hi, welcome back to our series on Uncommon Success, How Family Stewards Produce Intentional Wealth. I'm David Witter, founder and CEO of Financial Harvest Wealth Advisors. And today we're moving into Chapter 5, which is Career and Family. And what I commonly hear in the marketplace is balancing career and family. But I think of that as if one goes up, one goes down. So instead, the way I like to think about career and family and the other concerns that we have in living a good life is harmonizing those. So as I interviewed our 45 family stewards, I asked them for some of their best practices with maintaining harmony when it came to their career and family. The first one was utilizing and grounding in their spiritual practices and also involving their peer network to talk about harmonizing their career and family. In fact, 95% of them reported that their spiritual practices and being grounded in their spirituality helped them work through keeping that harmony between career and family. And then also having those discussions with other peers and like-minded professionals helped them have that harmony. The second best practice was knowing their purposes for their career and family success and then remaining centered in them. This really stood out to me. Our family stewards that we interviewed reported a 92% rating for high satisfaction with their career purposes. Meanwhile, secondary research shows that the average American only has a 38% satisfaction level when it came to their career. This shows that by having the purposes well identified for you and your spouse and your family in terms of your career and also your family, it allows you to be centered on those, aimed at those, and it produces much better outcome and much better satisfaction. Third best practice, involving your children in your career. One of the stories that really stood out to me, he was one of the most successful family stewards, both in terms of money and cohesiveness within his family, multiple generations, was that even at the age of 12, he started taking his boys into work with him and went to show them the business plans, show them drawings, show them the strategies that they're in, and talk with them about business so that it developed that language and that interest at a very early age. Fourth best practice, I noticed that our family stewards were intentional about producing autonomies or producing freedoms so that they could invest their time where they could produce the highest return. Now, highest return is usually a business term, but they even said so that I can invest my time, which is my most scarce resource, with my family or with my spouse or with my business partner or taking care of my body. But they had to have the freedoms to be able to do that. And in our checklist here in a second, you'll see some of the questions to ask yourself for that. So let's move into the checklist. This is an opportunity for you to self-assess within these best practices. The first is, if you already are in spiritual practice, could you modify them? Could you amplify them? Could you be more intentional with them? Or is there a new spiritual practice you could start to give you some of that grounding that we talked about earlier? Secondly, who in your network can you talk with? Who do you see that seems to be very centered and satisfied, not only in their career, but with their family life? Talk with them, chat with them. Hey, what are you up to? Number 3, what does living a good life look like to you and your spouse? Talk about taking care of your body, your marriage, your family, making money, your career, your education, your spirituality, your social network. Katie and I find that oftentimes we find ourselves in breakdowns. What I mean by that is we're strung out, we're stressed, we're overcommitted, and it has us come right back to this. And we talk about what does it mean to us to live a good life? And what shows up for us is we start looking at the commitments that we've accepted or are making to others. And then we start to assess, okay, which one should we maybe decline or put off so that we have a little more space? Or which commitments do we really need to be making right now? And then one of the things that Katie and I are still working on is how do we revisit these on a frequent basis so that we remain centered and not get knocked off to where we're stressed out or overcommitted. Question number 4, how can you involve your children in your business thinking, your narratives, your strategies? But this goes into other domains of life too. For instance, taking care of your body, spiritual practices. What does it mean for family, for marriage, the world? Think about those things, talk about them, develop those narratives early on. And last but not least is, what freedoms do you need to achieve harmony throughout the entirety of your life? within the context of business, what role would you need to be holding so that you even have the ability to produce those freedoms and autonomies? Who do you need in your network to help you? So obviously, one of the things I say is you can make many more requests in an hour than you can doing in an hour. And last but not least, can technology or tools or automations or systems help you produce that space and that autonomy to be very intentional about where you're investing your time? So as we always say, producing uncommon success requires intention, and we saw that again here with harmonizing career and family.